Hello friends, welcome to my channel. I, Dr. Gopal V. Saraswat, welcome you all to my channel Economica. Today we are going to discuss literature review because in conducting a research, literature review plays a very important role because this is a basis to find a research problem, a gap, and the uncertainty which lies in the field of knowledge. So let's start our video. What is literature review? A thorough, in-depth, extensive study or analysis of the available literature that forms the basis for you to build a new knowledge on is known as literature review. Question arises, why literature review? First, because we want to gain the knowledge of past literature or the studies which conducted earlier. We want to go through those studies, the ideas, methods, results and the findings so that we can go through about the concept, the construct taken by the past researchers, method they have used, limitations they found, and this can be a basis for our further research. By going through the past knowledge, we are able to identify the research gap and the limitations. Why the past researchers were not able to achieve the full potential of their research. They might be having certain limitations, and that limitation provides us the future direction for conducting research. So what is literature review? A literature review surveys books, scholarly articles and any other sources relevant to a particular issue. It also includes the literature review concerned to a particular research area, theory, and by doing so, it provides a description, summary, and critical evaluation of these works in relation to the research problem being investigated. So, whatever you are willing to investigate, the first thing you require is to go through the past literature or research knowledge, find their findings, conclusions, methods, constructs, concepts, ideas, and build your problem on the basis of the foundation of past literature review. Literature review are designed to provide an overview of sources you have explored while researching a particular topic and demonstrate your readers how your research fits within the larger field of study. Purpose of literature review. Cooper 1988 identified 6 characteristics of literature review. These characteristics help a researcher to think about what information needs to be included and what aspects of literature review required to be examined and how to reach to the target audience. The first characteristic is focus, goal, perspective, coverage, organization, and audience. So Cooper 1988 has defined the 6 characteristics of a literature review, which defined and provided as an information by under the University of Liverpool that focus, if you talk about the as a characteristics of a literature review, focus include research outcomes, research methods and theories, whereas the goal, which is the second characteristic, includes integration, journalization, conflict resolution, criticism and identification of central issues. The third characteristic is perspective, which includes neutral representation and espousal of position. Whereas the fourth characteristic, coverage, includes exhaustive with selection citation, representative, and central and pivotal role. Whereas the organization includes historical, conceptual, and methodological part of literature review. And finally, the last characteristic is the audience, which includes a specialized scholar, journal scholar, policymakers, and the general public. So these are the 6 characteristics defined by the Cooper in 1988. So importance of literature review is very crucial because it provides a new interpretation of old material or the past literature. It traces the intellectual progression of the field, include major debates. Depending upon the situation, it evaluates the source and advises the reader on the most pertinent and relevant research. And finally, it forms the conclusion of a literature review and it identifies where gap exists and how a problem has been researched up to date and what limitations of the past can be utilized for conducting the future research. There are different types of literature review: argumentative review, integrative review, historical review, methodological review, systematic review, and theoretical review. Argumentative review forms examine a literature review selectively in order to support or refute an argument, whereas integrative review type of literature review considered a form of research that reviews, critiques, synthesizes the representative literature on a topic in an integrated way such that new framework and perspective on the topic are generated. Historical review, on the other hand, it tries to have a few things and rest in isolation from the historical precedent. Historical literature reviews focus on examining research throughout a period of time, often starting with the first time an issue, concept, theory, phenomena, and emerged in literature review, then tracing its evolution within the scholarship of the discipline. The fourth type of literature review is methodological review, which does not always focuses upon what someone said, but how they come out about as a finding. So it focuses only upon the methodological part of the past literature, whereas the systematic review forms an overview of existing evidence pertinent to a clearly formulated research question, which uses pre-specified and standardized method to identify and critically appraise the relevant research and collect, report and analyze data from the studies that are included in review. The theoretical review and its purpose is to examine the corpus of theory that has accumulated in regard to an issue, concept, theory and phenomenon. The structure of a literature review should include the following: an overview of the subject, issue, theory under consideration along with the objectives of the literature review. It should also include the division of work under review into theme categories. Further, you also provide explanation of how each work is similar and how it varies from others. And finally, the conclusion as to which pieces are the best considered in their argument, are most convincing of their opinion, and make greatest contribution to the understanding and development of their area of research. Common mistakes to avoid. The source in your literature review do not clearly relate to the research problem. You do not take sufficient time to define and identify the most relevant sources to use in the literature review related to the research problem. You must rely exhaustively on secondary analytical sources rather than including primary research studies. The fourth common mistake is uncritically accept another researcher's finding, interpretation as valid, rather than examining critically all aspects of the research design and analysis. You should not describe the research or the search procedures that were used in identifying the literature review. Reports isolated statistical results rather than synthesizing them in chi-squared or meta-analytic methods should be rewarded. Only your research, if that includes validates assumptions and does not consider contrary finding and alternative interpretation found in the literature, these common mistakes should be avoided. Finally, when you are preparing a literature review or when you are going through the literature of past, this means that first you require to download this data from secondary sources or either in primary sources. But to save that data or the sources is very critical because you require it at the time of citation in your study, at the time of referencing and preparing the bibliography. So how you prepare that literature review as a, you can say, the summary. So this is a layout that you can have in your Excel or in your MS Word file. First is the serial number, date, keywords of that particular study, the database from which you downloaded that particular research article, database specification if that is some specifications are there, the citation of that research paper, what is the author take and what author concluded, what benefit you got by studying that particular research article, what are the limitations of that study, and what are the questions remain unanswered, and finally the new keywords emerges from the document. These are the references you can refer. Thank you very much.